please join your palms in the Anyali position, and let's recite together. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Verses of opening of the Dharma. The unsurpassable, profound, and wondrous Dharma is difficult to encounter even in hundreds of millions of kalpas. Now I see it, hear it, receive, and uphold it. I vow to understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. Welcome to the lecture number 6 of the book by Master Yinshun, The Path to Buddhahood, chapter 1. And we started to cover phrases to the virtues of the Dharma. And now we'll continue with stanza 9. The stanza reads, "The right Dharma, wonderful, rare, and inconceivable, is benevolent, pure, permanent, peaceful, and happy. By following the path of the ancient sages, one can realize Nirvāṇa." So let's go to the explanation. Nirvāṇa is a place of refuge for all nobles and all Buddhist practitioners. Due to different levels of realization, there are different nirvānas. Nirvāna with residues, nirvāna without residues, and mahaparinirvāna, etc. Okay, so these are different categories that we use to explain different types. And then, so just to give you an idea, nirvāna with residues, what does it mean? It means when a Shravaka practitioner, right, reaches, realizes arhatship and the fourth fruition, right? He realized while he's alive, right? And then so he realized in nirvana, but has not, he has not entered into nirvana. So because he still has a physical body, and this physical body still needs to live through the remaining time that has left in this existence. And then they cannot abruptly try to end it, especially when they have things to do, teachings to give. So nirvana with their residues are those liberated ones that reach the fourth fruition, arhatship, and then they're still the remaining of their life. And at the end, they enter into nirvana without residues. Nothing left. It's called the last body ended. The last body in samsara, in the cycle of birth and death. And when we talk about the Buddha achieving Buddhahood, then we say, the Buddha achieved, he realized nirvana and he entered into mahaparinirvana. And pari means complete nirvana. Maha means great. So this is just something to keep in mind, because these terminologies will come back again in chapter 5 with the distinctive Dharma of Mahayana. And continuing, in fact, nirvana is the right Dharma or correct Dharma. I know that in the previous pages, the text that we have covered, I have left it as translated as correct Dharma. And that is because I was using the terminology used in Spanish and Portuguese, which is Dharma correcto, Dharma correcto. But in English, there is already an established norm to this terminology. It's called the right Dharma. It's the same as correct Dharma, but I just want to point it out. This is the convention in many texts, okay? So like right view, instead of correct view, we say the right view. Continuing. The right Dharma is the state of self-realization. It is subtle, wonderful, rare, and inconceivable. Okay, so the right Dharma is the state of self-realization. What is self-realization? means you realize it directly yourself, right? It is something, the right Dharma, when it's heard, when it's seen through other people's experiences, it's not your right Dharma. It is self-realized. It is a direct realization, and it is a state, not a phase, but it's a state that doesn't change anymore. It is subtle. Why? Because it's not superficial. It's very, very subtle. It's deep. It is to the core. It's realizing the fundamental nature of all phenomena being sunyata. It is wonderful, rare, because it's rare to find, to hear, to realize, and inconceivable. Until such time that you have realized Nirvāṇa, Nirvāṇa can only be at most a flavor, just a tiny flavor of what it is. But once you realize it, you see it and you conceive it. Before that, it is inconceivable. And that's why the Buddhas, during his time, many people ask, where do you go after Nirvāṇa? What is Nirvāṇa? This is Nirvāṇa, this, Nirvāṇa, that. And the Buddha has 20 questions that even though people ask 3 times, he still will not answer. How to understand that? The next sentence will say, therefore, it is said that only one who drinks the water knows if it is cold or warm. 如人饮水，冷暖自知. Because it's saying, like, when you ask someone, hey, I would like a sip of that water, but tell me if it's cold or warm. What is the temperature? And the person will describe, and then give up describing because you have no idea, and it said, drink it for yourself. Yeah, okay. So that is the right Dharma, Nirvāṇa, a state of self-realization. Now I will briefly expand the explanation according to the skillful means of discourses in the sutras and commentaries. So the right Dharma has 4 important criteria. 4: benevolent, pure, permanent, peaceful, and happy. And then peaceful and happy go together because in the truest sense of Buddhist realizations, happiness is not a state of exaltation. It's actually peacefulness. But then if you put in the word happy, people understand it better. So benevolent. The right Dharma is benevolent. That is the absolute and complete benevolence in the context of the supreme meaning. Supreme meaning, there is nothing more beyond that meaning. It is the utmost, right? So the absolute and complete benevolent. That means that the right Dharma points to just complete benevolence. There is not a tiny bit of malevolence in the right Dharma. Second quality, pure. The right Dharma is pure because the right Dharma cannot be polluted by afflictions and other impurities, nor can it arise conditionally from afflictions and other impurities. Therefore, it is said to be pure. Realizing right Dharma and then experiencing the purity of the right Dharma, one is no longer affected by other people, and then one does not even have afflictions or impurities. And this is where it gets really interesting. And it reminds me of people that said, somebody said he realized something. Somebody seen Nirvāṇa, realized Nirvāṇa. But because sentient beings are so afflicted and so bothersome, they get pulled from their Nirvāṇa into samsara, into suffering because of others. No, that person did not, therefore, realize Nirvāṇa. The right Dharma is pure, cannot be contaminated. Once realized, once reached total purity, there is no retrogression, does not regress. 3, the right Dharma is permanent. The right Dharma is beyond the characteristics of time, neither arising nor ceasing. Originally, it is as it is. This reminds me of the Heart Sutra that talks about neither arising nor ceasing, right? So, and it's beyond the characteristics of time, meaning from time without beginning till time without end, the right Dharma is what it is, does not change. All the Buddhas in this world and other worlds and infinite worlds realize the same right Dharma. They enter into, they see, they achieve the same Nirvāṇa. It is permanent. Last but not least, the right Dharma is peaceful and happy. That is, there is no birth, aging, sickness, and death, nor anguish, sorrow, suffering, and affliction. It is absolute happiness, free from bondage. And that is true peace, true happiness. No longer in the cycle of birth and death, no longer afflicted. In summary, the right Dharma is inconceivable, and its virtues are equally inconceivable. From the state of wisdom, Nirvāṇa is called the right Dharma. If it is said that from wisdom the right Dharma is realized and real liberation is achieved, and this is called Nirvāṇa. Okay, so it's talking about from the perspective of wisdom, the state of like a fullest sense of achieving wisdom, right? Then Nirvāṇa is called the right Dharma. And right Dharma is Nirvāṇa. Depending on where you, the context, then you will use either right Dharma or Nirvāṇa. And it is enough to follow the ancients, sages, the correct path of Buddhas and great sages of the past to be able to realize the liberation of Nirvāṇa. So follow the path of the sages, of all the Buddhas in the past. And this is what we're doing. When we're taking refuge in the Dharma, we are trying to get to know the content of the right Dharma. We have the arrow that points, the compass that points us towards Nirvāṇa. Just like all the Buddhas, this is the so-called the Google, spiritual Google map that never changes. Okay? It is what it is. And speaking about the path of the ancient sages, the Agama Sutras, the Lankavatara Sutra, among others, also refer to it. Because the right Dharma is originally as it is. The correct path of practice that is able to realize Nirvāṇa is also originally as it is. All the Buddhas of the past, without exception, have tread this correct path and obtained Nirvāṇa. This path was not created by Buddha Shakyamuni, but it is the common path of the Buddhas of the past. Therefore, it is called the path of the ancients. Let us praise the virtues of the Dharma gem. So, by this last paragraph, basically, is pointing out the Dharma being the gem. It's universal. It's beyond time, space, consciousness. It is what it is. It is the universal truth that all the Buddhas must realize. So what do they realize? they realize the right Dharma, which is Nirvāṇa. And Nirvāṇa is the third of the three Dharma seals, being impermanence, non-self, and Nirvāṇa. Three Dharma seals. So let's move on to praising the virtues of the Sangha. There's a lot to cover here. Stanza 10. Based on the Dharma, the Sangha gathered with harmony, happiness, and purity as its roots. Harmony in matters and harmony in principles. We pay homage to the Sangha, the most honored among assemblies. So we have the Buddha and the teachings of the Buddha that points towards Nirvāṇa is the Dharma, and then now the Sangha that receive the teachings and practice it. When Buddha Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood and taught the Dharma, many people followed him and renounced householder life. And then here I want to emphasize also, because we're in this chapter of taking refuge and revering the triple gem, you must understand the triple gem, the significance of triple gem in Buddhism, and also the people that practice it, from the Buddha and the disciples, the Sangha, till today, all of us that we're practicing. But here, the Buddha is renounce the householder's life. In the time of the Buddha, the prince Siddhartha, when he realized he wanted to pursue his spiritual search, he rode his white horse with Chanda, his attendant, and then he went to the edge of the palace and then cut his long hair, like all Indian men at the time, and then gave the hair, the white horse, and then asked Chanda to give message to his father and his family. He renounced householder life. This is just so you know, and I'll cover a little bit later. Buddhism is one of the few religions, in fact, the only religion that I know, major religion, that actually the founder himself was a monk. And then through a monastic life, he achieved enlightenment, and then he established the community. All other major religions, their founders are lay people. Then the Buddha made them gather and organize into Sangha. In Sanskrit, Sangha is the monastic community. So Sangha is a group of people, an organized and disciplined community, which is why the ancients translated Sangha as group of harmony. So please be very clear about the definition of Sangha. It is not as in North America, they use the word Sangha. Sangha does not mean community of anything, of just any group in the context of Buddhism. In all texts, in Buddhist texts, in the Vinayas, in the sutras and commentaries, when it's talking about the Sangha, it's talking about the monastic community. Plus, the liberated lay people may be included into Sangha, okay? But not the normal, ordinary lay practitioners. When we include bhikshu, bhikshuni, upasika, upasaka, all four, meaning monks, nuns, laymen, lay women, all four, this is called the four assemblies. This is not a Sangha. This is called the four assemblies, the complete Buddhist community. But when we are referring to Sangha, don't get it wrong. The definition is very clear. It's pointing towards the noble ones that have liberated and the monastic community, monks and nuns. On what did the Buddha base the congregation and the formation of the Sangha? It was not based on his own capability. Therefore, the Buddha said, I do not personally gather people. The Buddha gathered them based on the Dharma, thus forming the Sangha. Wow. Wow. So the Buddha was not a guru? Huh? The awesome guru? He reached enlightenment and boom, everyone gather, go and start like idolizing him? No, it was not the case. That's why nowadays, when you see people, monks and nuns included, and many lay practitioners, and they say, I have achieved. And then they are gathering a multitudes of people, self-proclaiming themselves. That is so far from the concept of the Buddha. The Buddha said it was not based on his own capability that he gathers the Sangha. So how can that be true? The Buddha with his virtues and his ultimate enlightenment. Okay, then I'll give you the example of the 5 bhikshus. Oh, everyone knows that the Buddha achieved enlightenment and then Brahma came down from the form sphere from the first jhana and asked the Buddha 3 times to teach the Dharma. And then the Buddha started turning the wheel when he found the 5 bhikshus. Do you guys know who the 5 bhikshus were? These 5 were actually the bodyguards in the palace of the prince. So the Buddha, he decided to renounce the householder life, right? So Chanda went back and told the king. And the king was a bit worried and disappointed. But at the same time, he's thinking, well, maybe he will come back. So what he did, he sent 5 spies or 5 bodyguards. He sent the 5 bodyguards that were in the palace that were already taking care of the prince Siddhartha, sent them into the woods to find the practitioner Siddhartha. And then the 5, at the beginning, they were his bodyguards, and then they started practicing with him, and then suddenly they became his practicing friends. They became practitioners. And then the 5 plus the Siddhartha, when they decided to go and practice asceticism, guess what happened? These 5 were really into it. And then when the Buddha decided that no, asceticism is not the way towards enlightenment, he abandoned the ascetic way and then went to the Bodhi tree and sat down. Those 5 looked at him, abandoning the asceticism, and said, that's Siddhartha. He's a lazy one. He doesn't have it. He can't hack it. Okay. So what happened? So you think that the Buddha achieved enlightenment and then these 5 just came running towards him? No, it was not like that. The discourses of the Buddha explain clearly. The 5 of them were there and they saw this figure coming towards them. And they go, that looks kind of like ascetic, the practitioner Siddhartha. He abandoned our way. We are the real practitioner. He is not a real practitioner. And as the Buddha became a walk towards them closer and closer, they felt his light, his aura, the immensity of his enlightenment. And then they even said to themselves that they agreed, no one talked to him. Let's just ignore him. And then when the Buddha got so close, they could not ignore him anymore. You see? And then when the Buddha turned the wheel and spoke the Dharma, then they became convinced that he has realized the way, the path, the ultimate perfect enlightenment. So that's why the Buddha said it was not on his own capability, right? It's based on the Dharma. So we need to ask ourselves, when we say, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a practitioner, I'm a Buddhist practitioner, I've taken the refuge. Are you truly taking refuge in this Dharma, on the teachings of the Buddha, and then the understanding of the Dharma? So the Buddha gathered the people, the disciples, based on the Dharma, thus forming the Sangha. Dharma is a correct path in human life, the ultimate Nirvāṇa. The Buddha relied on the Dharma to inspire assemblies so they would gather and approach this great issue of human life. Make sense of this. Understand this. Dharma is also a system of rules of conduct corresponding to the norms of the correct path of human life. The Buddha relied on these complete rules of good cohabitation and coexistence and established formal norms to organize the assemblies. Basically, the Buddha, in the history of humanity, he was the first person, first human being to propose what we called perfect democracy. Okay? And his perfect group, perfect democracy, has rules. Rules based on the right Dharma, based on this, having this human body, the physicality, the verbal behavior, the thinking. Based on these three, body, speech, and mind, there are the rules, right? So what are the criteria? What are the things that this perfect democracy believed in and then practiced? The Sangha, gathered and based on the Dharma, is in accordance with the three distinctive qualities of harmony, happiness, and purity as its roots, fundamentals. So number one, harmony. Okay, so harmony is a big thing in Sangha, in the community of monks and nuns. This has two types: harmony in matters and harmony in principles. Matters means things that you can do with your body, speech, and then principle is in the essence of it. And of course, matters also includes the mental activities, right? But the principles are referring to the essence of harmony. And just harmony in matters is divided into six. It's called the six harmonies. So for those of you who know Chinese, look at the left side and you see what are the six harmonies. Number one, harmony in view, common understanding. Okay, the assembly has cohesive view and understanding. That is the unification of thought. When we as practitioners, right, and then we're looking for a temple, a monastery, or a community to learn with, from, and then to be with, to practice with, we have to observe what? What is the view? Is there harmony in view in this group? Is there a common understanding? Does this assembly, this group, has cohesive view and understanding or not? Is there an unification of thought? Or everyone thinks in their own way, doing their own thing? Number two, harmony in discipline, common observance. The assembly practices the same precepts, that is, the common exercise of norms, rules. Does this group, does this community have discipline? All are following. All they're maybe not perfectly, but at least they have rules where they're written or understood or memorized, but are they observing some kind of discipline? Harmony in benefits, and this has to do with resources, common sharing. The assembly lives with the same resources for daily life, and this is the balance of the community's economy, right? So there's the harmony in view, in discipline, and in harmony, right? Which is referring to the economy, the resources. So a monastic person that belongs to a certain group would know what is the view that is shared in this group, in this community. What is the discipline followed in this community? What is the observance? And then being in this community, I partake in the benefits with everyone else equally, meaning you have roof over your head, and then you have food on the table, right? And then the offerings given by people, you share in those things. Continuing, the common harmonies of thought, norms, and economy are the true essence of the Buddhist monastic community. And then it's referring to 1, 2, 3. So being able to follow this way, then the actions expressed through the body and mind among the community should be, okay, and actually body, speech, and mind, right? Speech is actually many times included into the body, right? Body, speech, and mind should be so the bodily harmony in communal living. Okay, so what kind of bodily harmony are we talking about? Okay, don't shut the door too loud. Be very mindful when you close the door. Don't make many sudden noises to disturb others. Be mindful of the space that you're using. After you eat, you do things, you clean up the part that you used, and even the part that you did not use. That is bodily harmony. You partake in the cleaning, the upkeeping of that community. Verbal harmony without conflict, meaning you talk to people certain loving, kind, courteous, cordial way, not in a harsh, obnoxious, demanding, narcissistic way, right? You have to talk in a way that's easier for the other person to accept. And then you're trying to communicate through kindness. And then you're not trying to cause conflict in the community. And then mental harmony and common joy. What does it mean? Mental harmony, meaning common joy, meaning you're living in there, and then imagine you are living in this community, and then you are living in there, and you go, I wish I could get out of here. This is so much suffering. I'm not standing this. I really, really hate this. There is no joy. There is no serenity, peacefulness in your being there. Your mind is afflicted. No, mental harmony has to do with common joy. Everyone feels that they are so happy and grateful to belong to this community of rare gems of people practicing the Buddha's way, or through the body and verbal actions in harmony, and the mental harmony that one also feels, right? And everyone feels. So these 6 harmonies should be consistently practiced by the monastics of the Sangha. It says should be, but not necessarily done by everyone. But we aspire towards this so-called ideal community. Okay. So we just named the harmony in matters. Now, regarding harmony in principles, they are the truth realized by the Buddha's disciples, the Dharma or Nirvāṇa, whose contents are completely coherent with each other. Therefore, it is said, minds in tune, in sync, align, minds align. Or sharing the same breath with all the Buddhas, meaning you breathe in, breathe out, like all the Buddhas in every way. You are in complete alignment with the Buddhas. This is something particular to the nobles. Nobles here refers to the liberated ones, whether it's a Sravakayana or Bodhisattvayana. And it's shared by both lay people and monastics, right? So harmony in matters is referring to conduct in a community of monastics. Here, harmony in principles are also something that lay people in their own family, small group, work, community, and in a spiritual community, in their company, in whatever group they belong to, they can aspire to. The body, speech, and mind being in harmony. The Sangha that practices only harmony in matters is still considered mundane because it's just in the matters of things, the manifestation. The Sangha that also practices harmony in principles is considered transcendent in every way, meaning it's beyond, it's even closer. It's no longer mundane, it's transmundane, transcendent. However, Buddha Shakyamuni, in this evil world of the five turbidities, which I explained last time, based the gathering of the Sangha on the Dharma as a central force that establishes and maintains Buddhism, but emphasize harmony in matters above harmony in principles. Okay, so it's trying to say the Buddha based the gathering of a Sangha on the Dharma as a central force to establish and maintain Buddhism. But the harmony, he emphasized harmony in matters because the Sangha should be able to project a proper image of the Dharma, of the Buddha's teaching for the people, right? It's not like Sangha in Buddha's time is one way, and in Sangha in different times, they cannot lose the essence, the principles of harmony. So let's go to the second one, happiness. The members of the Sangha in the midst of the community with harmony in matters and harmony in principles can all enjoy physical and mental peace and happiness and dedicate themselves diligently to practice. Okay, so the members of the Sangha, the monastics in this community should feel that mental happiness and peace, thereby aspiring diligently to continue their practice. And this is very important because I know maybe suffering is part of a process, but if suffering is your goal, then you're in the wrong place because it's very difficult to practice when you don't feel any joy. You got to feel some kind of joy. You cannot just keep suffering through your practice. Oh, meditations are gruesome. Oh, discipline. Precept. All these things. So difficult. And then you don't come to a point of stability and feel that joy being, from accomplishing and then being able to gain that inner peace. No, you need it. Okay. And third is purity. In the harmonious and happy community, the members encourage, alert, and correct each other. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They don't discourage and they just step on each other and then they just try to misguide each other, miscorrect rather than correct each other. In the harmonious and happy community, people thrive together. We thrive as a community. We are not in competition with anybody. We work as a team. It is wonderful to be able to talk to people in a community, even this community that I'm talking to right now. I have people that are willing to listen to the Dharma. And then, there are people sitting here not breathing for the moment. And then there are people in the all over the world listening to this talk. We are a community. We are here to encourage each other, to alert each other of the pitfalls in the practices. And then we correct each other. We help each other understand the Dharma. If someone has committed some transgression, they can quickly repent and restore their purity. And only then can the Sangha become healthy, and integral. Okay, so repentance is very important. And this is in the Buddhist Sangha, we do this once every 2 weeks, half moon and full moon, where we recite the Pratimoksha, which means the ordination precepts, right? And then each and everyone who has committed some kind of transgression, whether big or small, they will repent to the community. And if they got into conflict or argument with anybody in particular, they can even repent to that person in front of everyone, and then resolve the issue, and then return to health and purity and back to the integrity of this community. The Sangha established by the Buddha is originally an ideal community. Wow. I'll tell you how ideal it is, this community. The Buddha, in one of the 10 contemplations, monastic contemplations, the first line says, I have no caste. I am of no caste. If I were, whether it's from the Brahma class, caste, or Kshatriya, or the rulers, Vaishyas, or the Sudra, the slave class, it doesn't matter which class I belong to. Once I enter the community, I no longer have a caste. I am equal with everyone in here. That's how ideal the Buddha was. And then even the Buddha, he proposed equality in every way inside the Sangha, right? And which we will, from time to time, we'll discuss how our world is still so full of inequality compared to this ideal of the Buddha. So from the point of view of self-cultivation to the purification of body and mind, the Sangha is the exceptional condition for obtaining our peace, happiness, and purity. It is the great furnace where sages are molded and nobles are forged, right? So it's like the place where we harness, we mold, we grow, like in a forest, with all the trees that grow upward. And if you're a small tree, you will grow upward straight because of all these trees supporting you, around you. From the point of view of propagating the Dharma for the benefit of beings, the Sangha is the collective force that drives the Dharma. Collective force. Okay, so here I think I need to spend some time talking about this collective force, the Sangha. There were, according to the sutras, there were Buddhas in the past that after achieving Buddhahood, there was no condition to establish Sangha. And thereby the Buddha achieved perfect enlightenment and then taught while he could and entered into Parinirvāṇa, or Nirvāṇa without residues. Okay. And then the right Dharma could not continue after the passing of the Buddha. Our Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, 2,500 years ago, he established a community. This community of monastics with full devotion to the practice of discipline, concentration, and wisdom, the Eightfold Noble Path, is the collective force that from time of the Buddha and after he entered Parinirvāṇa, that lineage, that transmission from ancient India around the region of the Ganges, moving north, the northern transmission into the Gandhara areas, the today's Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, all those places, and then moving even north to China, to Korea, Japan, Taiwan, all these places, the northern tradition and the southern transmission, going to Burma, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Cambodia, all these places, uninterrupted. And by uninterrupted, it means that nobody can become a member of the Sangha by themselves. You need somebody to give you the ordination, to pass on down the Buddha's teaching, to receive this acknowledgement that you've officially become a member of the Sangha. So in the contemporary term, what does it take, okay, to ordain one bhikshu? It takes 10 bhikshus, each and every one of them with more than 10 years as monks, to gather together all at the same time to certify somebody as becoming formally a member of the Sangha with full ordination. And they have to be asked certain questions that they have to answer and then pass and then officially receive that ordination. So imagine this transmission from the Buddha's time. We're talking about 2,500 years ago, uninterrupted till now. In ancient India, back in year 1203, India ended its transmission because of the invasion of the Muslims from the north, and then they abolished all the monasteries, and then all the sanghas were whether killed or sent home, no more to be found. And then Buddhism, luckily, already traveled into other places, to the north and to the south. And to give you another example of why this collective force is that what drives the Buddha Dharma. Without this Sangha, we will not be listening to the Dharma right now. And I'll just give you a simple example with the text. The Chinese Tripitaka, the entire collection of volumes of translated Buddhist text from Sanskrit, hybrid Sanskrit, Pali into Chinese, the whole process took roughly 1,700 years. And mind you, a text made by paper at that time cannot last more than 50 to 100 years. That means that they need to be recopied. They need to be copied by hand and then by printing press, and then prevent from being burnt down, whether by nature, by spontaneous combustion during dry season, or by emperors, 4 emperors during the Chinese dynasties try to extinguish Buddhism. And it was the community, the Sangha, that preserved the teachings, the Tripitaka. Many people died. Thousands, many thousands died to preserve it. And then for the Dharma to be translated, the translation project at that time, and then, when the Buddhism already traveled out of India, thanks to King Ashoka, right? And then started moving to the north, to the south, in different directions. When it came to China, the first temple established was called the Temple of White Horse. Why? Because the white horse was not carrying the monk sitting on it, was carrying the Buddhist text on that horse. And then that's why the first temple in China is called the Bai Ma Shi, the Temple of White Horse. And then the first monk that came to China, what did they learn? They said, okay, people, let's learn Buddhism. You need to learn Pali. You need to learn Sanskrit. You need to learn hybrid Sanskrit. You need to learn my language. No. They learned Chinese, ancient Chinese from different regions in different dynasties. They learned to translate from their language into the local language. And then it started with one translator, and then they taught the Dharma, they translate into something, they teach it, and then more people became monks and nuns, and then they have to copy the text, translate it, and then they have to copy the text and spread it around different regions so that people have access to these texts. Oh my goodness. You think about the number of people involved. Without dedicated people, how can this last till now? Can this be done part-time? No way, Jose. No way. So, the Sangha is one of the triple gem. And as disciples of the Buddha, we should pay homage to and take refuge in the Sangha. So when we take refuge in the Sangha, it's the universal Sangha. It's the Sangha that made possible from this person who taught you Buddhism to you yourself, to all the people behind that person, and all this lineage, this transmission to the Buddha, that Sangha. We need to be grateful. Great religious communities are not limited to Buddhism. For example, in ancient India, the communities of the 6 sramanas, masters, renunciates, all had their respective sanghas. Okay? So the word sangha in Sanskrit just means community. If used in a non-Buddhist way, it could mean a sangha of deers, sangha of insects, a sangha of this, animal, people, groups, whatever. But the sangha in Buddhism refers to the monastics and the noble ones. And then the 6 sramanas, masters, they were the 6 major teachers at the Buddhist during the Buddhist time. They had many disciples, and I tell you, together those 6 masters had much more disciples than the Buddha. The Buddha was actually the most respected in a sense, because he was the only one who never got into argument with anybody. He taught his disciples not to get into arguments with any other religion. Respect all other religion. And guess how many religions we're talking about? Here is talking about the 6 Sramanas masters. Guess how many? There were 95 different groups in ancient India, in the different kingdoms. Buddhism was number 96. And imagine if you really wanted to argue, you have 95 groups to argue against. And actually, a lot of them, the 95, they spend a lot of time trying to argue with the Buddha. But the Buddha always told the Sangha, us monastic members, not to enter into arguments. Respect other people's religions. So, however, among the monastic assemblies of different religions, the Sangha that consistently practices the Buddha Dharma is the most honored and superior. Therefore, it is praised as the most honored. I hope you've been convinced of how wonderful, amazing this Sangha gem is. Because I personally, being one little ant inside of this Sangha, this great Sangha, I feel privileged. And when we monastics, we receive the bowing or prostration from people, we never think that people are bowing to us, me, the great one. No, it is the great Sangha standing behind me. And here I have comes this picture. I don't know if you guys seen this. It's regarding the baby bear. There was a baby bear right beside the stream, and he was looking at the salmon, and he was trying to catch a salmon, and he was having fun. And then there's the wolves started appear, and then they were eyeing him as food. Yum yum yum. This is maybe good food. And they were approaching, and the little bear got a bit scared, and he remembered the mother taught him, don't be scared, show your strength. And the little bear just stood up and then all the wolves got scared. They were stoned. They didn't move. And the full picture was right behind him, the little bear was the mama bear, like standing and looking at the wolves and go, step back or you get hurt. Okay. So I'm not saying that the Sangha will hurt you if you hurt me, right? But I'm saying that when we as individual members, we are not trying to teach the Dharma and trying to promote ourselves to become gurus, to be revered, to be idolized. No, the Sangha is about the community, this community of noble ones, practitioners that we aspire towards Buddhahood. And so we have come to the end of this lecture, and next lecture will be really, really interesting because it's going to cover how lay people should interact with monastics, and then the proper etiquettes, and also how to find your teacher, the right mindset. A lot of interesting stories I will tell you, right? That may scare you a little bit or it'd be really funny. Anyways, so let us transfer merits towards all beings, all sentient beings, and wishing all sentient beings have the opportunity to encounter the Sangha, a member of the Sangha, to learn the Dharma and to get to know the Buddha. Okay? So put your palms together. Let's read together. I wish to eradicate the 3 obstructions and all defilements. I wish to attain wisdom and true understanding. I wish that all calamities and obstacles be universally extinguished. I shall constantly practice the Bodhisattva path, life after life. Namo Pho.